Welcome back to the Inside Out Shift, the podcast where we talk about the identity shifts, mindset breakthroughs, and behind the scenes pivot of bold women who've left traditional careers to build something that feels aligned, impactful, and theirs. I'm your host, Evgenia Baikova, business mindset strategist and Clifton Strengths expert. I help women build businesses that work and feel good without recreating the burnout they walk away from. And today's guest is someone I deeply admire. Joe Barber is the definition of courage in motion. While the world often sees limits, she builds bridges, creating a business that leads, includes, and serves with heart. And she is an award winning social media strategist and manager, supporting positive impact brands to stay visible, accessible, and values driven. From content creation to community engagement and accessibility advocacy, Jo has redefined what success can look like on her own terms. And she helps with everything from content creation and captioning to handling comments and DMs, making sure nothing falls through the cracks. And she is also a strong advocate for accessibility, ensuring that screen readers, captions, and inclusive content are part of the process, not an afterthought. And as part of her deep commitment to social responsibility, 10% of all her retained invoices go directly to Shelter Box through Work for Good. So let's start from the beginning. Jo, welcome.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Virginia.
Thank you. So, Jo, what led you from business development and marketing into running your own social media strategy business?
I have to say it was redundancy, as I think is a lot. It's most of the case for most entrepreneurs, and basically throughout my time in business development marketing, I had seen the power of social. How it's where you can actually connect with people and have great conversation, get them involved in what you do. And I thought, well, why are we not doing more of this? And my bosses did not let me do it. And so when I was made redundant, I thought, this is what I have to do. I got involved with quite a lot of things from a sort of volunteer perspective and as a consumer from things I'd seen on Facebook, because I'm a millennial. That's Facebook was but it's my home platform. And I thought, well, if they can do it and get me involved that way, why can't I do it for other organizations and get people to commit to what they are selling? And so I got all started. I had my website. I got my social platform set up. I finished my diploma in social media for business, so I knew the differences between, personal posting and professional posting. And I actually then spent 5 months in Berlin as part of the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program, basically doing what I do for an author over there. And I had the security of funding from the EU just to keep me going while I practiced. And then I came back home in 2018 and started prospecting. And it's been going pretty well since then. Still here.
Well, that's pretty much impressive. And you've shared that running your own business gave you the freedom to design your work around your needs and values. What has that flexibility meant to you, and how has it shaped the way you work today?
Okay, so one thing I always do is I schedule everything 24 hours in advance. And this is so if I'm a bit sore in the morning, I can do all my work in the afternoon, without worrying about missing a slot that I'd planned for example. Or perhaps I'll have a hospital appointment at a time, so I can't work then, but I can do the work after or before. Or if I wake up in the middle of the night, perimenopause, it happens. I can also go in and do stuff then if I'm wide awake, because I'm starting to find at the moment. So this flexibility is really great because I can fit my work around my own life, and I still get the results for people that they expect, but without necessarily having to stick to the 9 to 5 that is expected by everybody.
Yeah. And that's great because, it seems like you're listening to your body, you're listening what's going on in your head and your body, and you can adjust easily so that you're not pushing yourself very hard in kind of a structured days and time management techniques that other might be using. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I know that you're deeply passionate about working with values-driven brands that
Yes,
are creative, that's and you create the positive change, right? So
yes.
what inspires that focus, and how do you help them stand out in the noisy world of social media?
Of course. So what inspired us, these social impact businesses and organizations and CICs, they are the ones that need attention from the public. They're doing brilliant things. They need funding to do the brilliant things. They need people to wear their t-shirts, that sort of thing. How I do this is so for some pro bono work, I'll look at their websites, which are usually fantastic because that's where they spend their money. But
Mhm.
because they've spent the budget on doing the website, they don't have the budget for anything else. So what I will do is I go through their website and create a content plan for them, which their own teams can just copy and paste on day to day, so they don't have to think too hard about it or spend even more money on someone who would do what I do, which would be manage the posting, look after the direct messages, comments, etc. And so that's what I've done for bono. I find those on the UK websites called Reach and media volunteering, and I also offer a discounted service for charities. So this can be anything from half price to, service swaps, that sort of thing. And there's, I am very flexible with my pricing. So if you're doing good, I'll work with you to what you can afford.
Well, yeah, I like this approach because you know that just recently I had a conversation with some of non-profits organization, and they admitted that it's not easy to attract volunteers now. It seems like people are so busy, and I'm so glad that you're doing that type of work for that type of organization so that they can be visible, they can be heard, right? So that they can attract volunteers, they can attract sponsors and others who can help. And I believe that, yes, there is a purpose behind that, right? Um, one thing that I wanted to ask you, so many of our listeners, they are navigating their own shift into entrepreneurship. And in your early days, what felt unexpectedly hard and what helped you stay steady when things felt wobbly?
So one thing that I found hard was I came straight from Germany back to the UK. And the sort of the attitudes in society generally, whether that be towards my disability or towards entrepreneurship in general, was quite negative in the UK as opposed to Europe. And so, but because I was working from home, I wasn't having to interact with colleagues. I didn't have to worry about what people thought of me. And one thing that I remember kept me going was in the very beginning when I didn't have any clients, was a local business called Oxford Soap Company here who were looking for testers for their solid shampoos. So I saw this call out on Facebook and off I trotted down to the covered market in Oxford. So if anyone's ever been to Oxford, it's about 200 years old. It's this very traditional market as it used to be with, butchers and bakers and all of that. But they have a soap company and it's this beautiful little shop that is basically filled with soap. And they gave me a lemon one to try, and it was lovely. And I've used them ever since. And I've been hoping they'd take me onto their social, but they seem to be pretty good at it themselves. But that was another convincer as to how social media can be such a power tool for small businesses because it's how you reach people. Because
Mhm.
people are not on your website every day, but they are in their social platforms, so you need to be there as well to get their attention instantly.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful story. And Joe, what I admire about you and your story is the way you build your business while living with disability. And if you're comfortable sharing,
Yeah, yeah.
how has that experience influenced the way you run your business, you connect with others? You just brought some examples, and how you advocate for yourself.
Sure. So one thing I remember is slightly later on, I was working with a client who liked sending voice notes on WhatsApp. Now, I am deaf. I don't put my hearing aids in unless it's for a calls or a Zooms. I usually keep them out. And he kept sending me voice notes, and I had to say, "Look, I'm deaf. I can't hear them. You need to type." And actually, I think WhatsApp now has a transcription. There's a button. I've not tried it myself, but it will write out what is being said, so it wouldn't be a problem nowadays. But because I'm the boss, I don't have anyone going, "Oh, you must try harder." So I could just say, "No, I can't hear you. Type it
Mhm,
out." So,
mhm, mhm.
and we also found it was quite entertaining because obviously I insist on captions for all videos, and I can do this. And I was using Facebook Business Suite to add these for this client. Now his was a black led charity, and they are based in London, so they all have the South London accents that know all of the caption creators could not recognize, but they sponsored a project in Sierra Leone and Caribbean, and a lot of the children who were benefiting from these projects have these beautiful received pronunciation accents. So the caption creators couldn't understand the British people, but they could understand the African and Caribbean kids absolutely fine. So I did have to go back to that client several times. Going, can you just tell me what you said, because Facebook doesn't know.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I do remember in our first conversation, you shared some tips and tricks about you being in networking and like what the word I'm looking for, not in virtual networking, but in person networking, and I
Mhm.
really like that. So it seems like you just don't need to be bold and brave and share what actually working for you, but this is how you live.
Absolutely. So I think because during 2020 I was shielding, and so my only option was virtual. And so I got very used to, seeing people on the screen. Zoom's captions got
Mhm.
better than Google Meet, and that was how I got used to it. And now 5 years on, or maybe it was 4 years on. I mean, the trauma of shielding did sort of take over a bit. It took me a little while to feel better about going outside again. And it was actually running my book club that got me back into the whole it's okay to meet people and exchange breaths, if you like. And I'm actually doing more in-person networking nowadays. Oxford Library has a really good business centre, so that has a lot of events. And I'm actually going to a marketing camp meetup on Friday at a pub, which will be a lot of fun. So I think I'm getting there on the whole going out to meet people thing again, but
Yeah.
it will soon be winter, so I might decide to go back to Zoom.
Oh, for sure. And you just reminded me, my anxiety when COVID was over and all
Mhm.
that in-person networking events started again. I was just like, I was so
I'm not
uncomfortable
I'm not ready
going to
yet,
meet
not ready
people.
yet. So yes, but it took me a while, but I think we're okay-ish. Now I'm still really careful on public transport in very, very busy situations, but I think if you're in a nice airy room and there's space to sort of
Mhm.
get away
Oh,
if
yeah.
you need to. And that's not just a fear of infection. That could be, an introvert needing a break from people or anything like that. I think that's okay.
Yeah, and another thing is that networking with purpose, right? So that you're not just going to the events just to be there.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
having some purpose and why behind that, that's important too. And Jewel, let's talk a little bit about the slow season. So those moments when engagement or content doesn't land the way you actually hope. So how do you stay motivated and how you keep showing up during those times?
Okay, so I've got my own content plan like I do for clients that I can also copy and paste over. So daily showing up, which I do on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Mhm.
It's pretty easy for me, and I usually schedule 24 hours ahead so I don't miss anything. The other thing way I keep myself going is I look the volunteer opportunities on Reach and media volunteering, and go in that way. And I always get some testimonials from the work I do for people on there, which it makes you feel good to have someone saying lovely things about you. And that is also added to my content plan as well. So that sounds good. And I also really love helping people in my network. I'm a part of the F word, which is it's based in the UK, but I mean I think anyone
Mhm.
worldwide can join. And we have a lot of we share opportunities we see, we share tips and tricks, and we also oh, I'm in your city. Shall we meet up for a drink or an ice cream as it was last weekend? Because Britain's in a heat wave
Oh,
again.
how
So,
fun. I like that. I love that. And I love how you are not just keeping yourself busy when, when you are not that busy with your business, but it's also, again, it's with purpose, right? And I
mhm.
like that you are doing that intentionally and you're getting testimonials as well, which is also important because they are talking about you as a persona, and persona in the business, a business owner is very, very important. So because
Yeah.
it's build trust, right? So that's actually I don't know, to me, this is a foundation of being successful in your own business. Thank you for sharing that. I think that so many listeners will take this tip and they will think about, okay, so now I'm entering the slow season. How can I help my community grow, right? So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
that. Another thing that I know about you that you are a big fan of smart systems, and you put that smart systems in place to prepare content ahead, and you just mentioned that a couple of times. And by doing that, you are actually avoiding burnout, right? So, what
Yeah.
are some tools, habits, or routines that help you stay organized and consistent without, spreading yourself very thin?
Yeah, so the calendar, definitely. So every time I agree to do something, it goes in the calendar. And I've got pink for networking, I've got green for business actions. Today I invented orange for volunteer stuff. And so that's all in there, and the colors sort of help me organize myself. So, and again, it's looking ahead the night before what I got on tomorrow. Do I need to get up for 9 o'clock, or can I sleep in a bit because I don't have any commitments until the afternoon? And again, I can that sort of organizes my brain a bit and relaxes me.
Yeah, I love that. I will definitely try to use myself, not just blocking the time, but color blocking. I
Yeah,
love that. I love that because also it will give your brain like signal, okay, now I'm in
yeah,
green,
that's it.
I'm doing
Yeah.
that, and orange is coming. I love that because I'm the person who likes systems, but also, I like visuals too.
Are you
Yeah.
like me? You go into a stationery shop and you just gaze at all the colored pens and want to
Yep,
buy them
yeah,
all.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you one question, and this actually this one comes up a lot in my coaching because so many women they are holding back from posting because it doesn't feel perfect.
Mhm.
So how did you move past the pressure and start sharing your voice with more freedom?
Right. You just have to do it. I think you work on your content plan. You know what you're doing. You know you're good at what you're doing, and it's sort of reassuring to have it planned ahead. What am I going to do if someone is nasty to me? What do I do? Do I take it to private message? Do I ignore it? Do I block them? It's nice to know you have those options to deal with it. And I know as women we do get a lot of approaches from unwanted followers, and
Mhm.
it's not knowing how you're going to deal with them. But you've also got to think, oh, how do I deal with them if they're lovely? So, if it's something you could perhaps use in a testimonial, you reply and go, oh, thank you so much for those kind of words. Could I use them in my own social? People love being told that they can help. And
Yeah, yes.
9 times out of 10, they'll go, yes, yes, please
Mhm.
use it. And if they're an organization, you can always tag them because then they're going to get the recognition and the exposure that they've been nice to you too.
Yeah, and this is brilliant. I just did
Yeah.
it in the morning. So one lady commented my post on Facebook, and I just replied, "Can I use this
Yeah.
as a quote?" And she was, "Okay, yes, fine. Yeah, let's
Yes, of
do that."
course. Yes.
Because it seems like, it's in our nature to help others, especially women, right? So
Exactly.
we are
Exactly.
nurturing others, we are helping
Yeah.
others. This is just our, I don't know, part of our DNA.
Yeah, definitely. I always actually thinking about this for in-person networking. 'Cause obviously, I did it quite a lot before 2020.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, I mean, I always have business cards because we have to. But I always found that the men who would power in their suits, and they'd come towards you with their card, and you had to take it, and they'd be talking money, 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 and time, time, time. And all the women would be going, "Oh, I love your bag. I love your hand. What are you doing this weekend?" And so I was actually thinking, so I got this tattoo last year, and the
Mhm.
last networking event I was at, people were complimenting me on it, the short sleeves of summer. But in past networking stuff, I have a bag that has a picture of the Berlin skyline on it, and that is what would get me attention at networking
Mhm.
events because someone else had been to Berlin, so they were talking about the things we'd be getting
I
up to.
love it.
Oh, you do social media? Great, give me a card, but tell me about what you did in Berlin.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And what's on your tattoo?
It's a butterfly. I sorry,
Oh,
the camera
butterfly.
does not.
Yeah, it's not visible.
Yeah,
Yeah, now I
it's
see that. Yeah,
yeah, it's
beautiful.
inspired by when I was a kid. My parents obviously used to take me to Portugal, and
Mhm.
we would always go to this ceramics place, and I would pick out a ceramic butterfly. So my kitchen wall is full of these ceramic butterflies. There must be 15. And in the week leading up to the tattoo, I knew I wanted one of them on my arm, but I didn't know which one. I kept changing my mind. And in the end, my husband's like, just made me like, will you choose one and stick to it? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Joe, we were talking about a lot about systems and some tools in place. But what's your perspective on using AI in marketing and in business? And where do you see the value and where do you feel it falls short?
So I do not recommend using AI for your content at all. Your content is your voice, and people will be able to tell that it isn't you speaking.
Mhm.
And in fact, one organization I was following on social used it to create an image, and all of their followers jumped on them, criticizing them for not using a graphic designer. But AI does have its place. I was talking about the captions earlier, and I think AI should be used to make those better. Really, it needs to learn all accents.
Mhm.
So it's easier for people to add captions to it because one thing people don't do that is because it's difficult. But AI could be used to make it easier.
Mhm.
Similar for image description, you're describing your photos, so screen readers can read them essentially. I actually have it's a screen reader app on my desktop. So even though I don't need a screen reader, I have it to remind me of the importance of using them. And I follow a lot of travel organizations who don't use it.
Mhm.
And often the suggested image description references things that are not even in the picture. So it will go that will might see the Blackpool Tower and go, oh, that's the Eiffel Tower. Because they do look similar, but they're in two different countries.
Yeah.
And but my other so for that for captions, great. I know that a lot of deaf organizations in the UK, I don't know about the US, use AI so they can have British Sign Language as a side to their videos. And I think that is an excellent. There are companies that work on advertising in train stations, for example, and they use AI, so they've got BSL interpretation. And I think that is so important because English and BSL are not the same thing. And for a lot of people, BSL is their first language, so it's helpful for them to
Mhm.
have, the train times in their language rather than English.
Yeah. And I also have a question again about AI. So you are not recommending to use that to create content, but what about getting help from AI, like
Definitely.
systemizing thoughts? Or,
Definitely. I know.
mhm.
I know a lot of neurodivergent business owners who use ChatGPT to just kind of organize their thoughts. And for that, that's great. If it's going to help you, absolutely, that's what it should be used for. But when it comes to communicating what you do, you should use your own words.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's important. And also, it's you who are talking with your clients. Of
Exactly.
course, you can
Exactly.
teach AI, right? You can
Yes.
teach your tone of voice, the words that you're using, but well, sometimes it can repeat itself. It can
Exactly.
use the words that you never will use.
And it can take a
Or,
while to learn, can't it? So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it from the off bat, you're better off
And
using your
yeah,
own.
now it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so easy to notice that AI-ish language when you are following some I would say influencers and you see the
yeah,
same structure, the same cliches, the same like words, and
yeah.
like, well, guys, really?
Yeah, and for influencers, their voice is maybe even more important because they're personally recommending things.
Yes. Yeah.
So definitely wouldn't recommend AI for sure an influencer.
Well, thank you. And well, let's wrap up with something fun.
Okay.
If your business had a theme song, what would it be and why? And I remember you mentioned defining gravity. Tell us
Which, I,
more about
which
that.
I'm having to pull the lyrics up to because I didn't manage to learn them in time. So yeah, when I started out, I think it was about the same time that I saw Wicked on stage.
Mm,
I just heard this song, which was Defying Gravity, and I totally identified with it. And it was things, something is changed with me, something is not the same. And through playing by the rules of someone else's game, which was exactly how I felt because I was basically being ejected from the organization I had worked for because they didn't like the way I did things. And it's time to trust my instincts, close my eyes and leap. It's trying to try defying gravity. As a disabled person, people don't expect you to do things on your own. They expect you to be small or waiting support. So I thought, okay, let's try it, see if it works. And it did. And I flew.
yeah. Well, I love that. To me, defining gravity is even just, goes beyond the just defining the gravity. It's about everything, like defining your success on your terms, defining how you rest, how what fulfills you, right? It's about defining what actually included in your vision of success, in your vision of successful business, in your vision of being successful entrepreneur or just successful women. And I love that. And thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Well, you are bold, right? And you are using absolutely beautiful way of doing business. And you've shown up what's possible when we stop waiting for permission and start building what we believe in. And what I also admire that you turn barriers into bridges. You are showing up, you are leading, and you are serving with heart. And that's not just success. I would say that this is legacy. And to everyone's listening, if your story lit something up in you, take it as your reminder. Your limitations don't define you. Your vision does. And if you'd like to connect with Joa or explore her work, all the links are in the show notes. And if this episode moved you, don't forget to like, follow, and share it with someone who needs to hear that. And until next time, stay bold, stay honest, and build it from the inside out.